would you like to introduce yourself?
All right. So, hello everyone. I'm Simona. I'm pretty much your basic F1 fan. I just enjoy watching all the races. I'm currently a student and also work part-time. And I'm very excited to be taking part in this interview.
Thank you so much for being here. You're on the first episode of Lenka Spotlight, so I'm really excited to share this with you. Let's get into it right away. So let's start off with the general and basic questions, I'd say. And tell me, how did you get into Formula One and at around what time?
Yeah, so I think for many people it's been like that the father or someone in the family started to watch it, and it was always on Sunday, and I never really paid that much attention. It's just, yeah, back then it was just cars going around in circles.
There.
12 years old, it wasn't that interesting. Of course, I heard things about like Vettel, oh, he won the third time in a row, fourth time in a row, and I was like, whoa, yeah, gotta be an impressive guy, right? But didn't really know that much about it. And then some friends of mine in school to watch it, and then I got a little bit more interested in it. And then that one race in 2020 when Grosjean had his terrible accident, it was also running on the TV. I witnessed it, and I was quite in shock.
Fair.
And yeah. Then I was, especially on that afternoon, I was super invested in F1. Like, is he okay? Is he going to make it? Is there any like long-term implications, anything? And I started to like surf all through the internet if I could get any news on him. And then I found the F1 accounts, like the official ones, but also the streams of the drivers back then, because 2020, it was the year of all the drivers streaming on Twitch. Yeah. Exactly. So I started to watch YouTube videos of Formula One. Also found Lando Norris's YouTube channel then, and he started Quadrant around then as well. So got pretty invested. Then I had the whole winter break kind of to educate on how Formula One works and how the driver pairings, etc. worked. And yeah, then the 2021 season, I think I barely missed a race. So it was quite the
That's
steep
a great season to start.
entrance. Yeah, that as well. But I'm glad. I was super invested, of course, but I'm also glad that I still got enough interest in the sport that I kept watching. Like, if you compare it to the 2022 season and the 2021 season, it's quite a difference. But I still found it very interesting. So, yeah, glad I kept
start with Grosjean's accident, but I definitely understand because it's such a huge incident that happened, and I think it was so eye-catching. Like, even people that weren't into Formula One texted me about it and were like, "Oh my God, did you see that this happened?" and stuff. So it's like, it's very crazy, and I remember seeing that too live. That was insane.
Panicking, yeah. But, yeah, adrenaline right from the first moment. I actively watched.
That's quite it's into the sport, doesn't it? So, I mean, you are already wearing a McLaren shirt, and you already mentioned Lando Norris. So is that the team that you support and the driver that you support? And if yes, has it always been this way, or has it switched?
Yeah, so I think it started with, it was just the driver that I could approach the easiest back then, because he was so active on social media, and he was around my age. So of course I started to support him with that McLaren. My friends are also at least part McLaren fans, so it was kind of natural to go with the flow. So Norris and McLaren were my number one driver and team from the start. Of course, I also support Sauber. Have to.
The Swiss bias.
Exactly. But yeah, I had more interest in the team than the drivers back then, but I started to grow on Bottas as well, and Joe, and it's always nice. And what kind of changed a little bit is my perspective on Piastri, because he had such a hard launch in Formula One. Because in the beginning I was like, oh, come on, is that really the way you want to enter your rookie season? But yeah, he grew on me as well. So I'm a Piastri fan as well now.
Nice. Moving on from like kind of, you already said what your most memorable moment kind of was with Grosjean and stuff. Do you also have like a favorite moment? Like that can also be a favorite moment, but maybe there's another thing that you really like cemented your love for the sport?
I think there aren't really favorite moments. It's just the thrilling moments that I just love. It's always something new. The plot twists that you just don't expect. It can be something easy like De Vries scoring his points, his first points in his first weekend, or K-Mag all of a sudden having a pole position. It's just like such exciting moments where it's maybe not even the driver you support, but you're just so happy for them. And it's just makes it amazing all over again. So, I mean, if I had to pin it on certain moments, it would be biased towards McLaren success stories like Monza, the 1-2 they had there. But in general, I'm just really here for the plot twists and the thrill.
Yeah, that's that's definitely Formula One summed up, I feel like, plot twist and thrill. But that's Do you have a Formula One unpopular opinion, or if yes, what is your Formula One unpopular opinion?
Kind of. I have less of a driver unpopular opinion, because I always feel like all these stories about who is overrated, underrated, they're just, it's gonna add up in the end how it's supposed to play out. That's a very temporary assessment. But one thing that I always find myself struggling a little bit is with how fans are judging drivers so much for their personality. Kind of wish for them, they should, even though they're successful, they should be humble and play nice with one another. I just always struggle with that, because pitted against each other, 20 drivers, you can't expect each driver to be humble. I mean, I have some friends that don't really like Verstappen because he seems arrogant, but I feel like it's just necessary, and he can be. I mean, he's doing an amazing job. My unpopular opinion would be that fans should not judge too much about the personality of an F1 driver.
That's honestly very true, because it's also, you only see what they show you. We don't know any of these people. We only know what we're seeing.
Appreciate that there are people. As well.
Literally.
And I also think sometimes all these fans that judge each driver for the smallest little comment they made, do they just want them to be like the most boring people there? I mean, they have to have a little bit of personality, may it be a little bit negative from time to time, or bubbly. You can't really tell.
Do you have a fun fact about Formula One that you once heard and want to share?
Well, fun. I think it's a cute fact. I think if I can circle back to Sauber again,
yes, please.
To the Swiss team. Well, for the ones that don't know it, maybe Kick is part of the Sauber group. Many commentators will call them Sauber, maybe as well. Founded by Peter Sauber, and they started in 1970, I think. And the cars, they always have these coded names, kind of. And their stake is at C44. And the C, it stands actually for Peter Sauber's wife, so Christiane. So he named all his cars are named after his wife.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh my god.
It's cute.
It's cute. And if we like go back in time a little bit, you said you started around 2020, 2021, just on the cusp of it. Is there any Formula One race that you wish you could witness again, or maybe witness for the first time, like even if it was earlier? Do you have any specific race in mind?
It's almost hard with all these Verstappen wins in the past. So for the sake of having the thrill again, I think the most recent spectacular one would be 2023 Singapore. That was really nice because it was over the last few laps. There was so much who's going to end up on the podium, who's going to win. You were just like glued to the screen. So I think from the ones I've seen, that would be the one. But of course, I mean, there were so many moments of Schumacher or Senna brilliance. I just haven't watched them yet, so I don't know. Maybe someone can leave some tips in the comments which races would have
idea.
to be, which are the best of the best.
Yes, let's move on from like the general questions and go a little bit into what you also wrote in your application, let's say like this. You said that like Grosjean and the accident that you saw really got you into Formula One, and that's what kind of started it all. And I wanted to ask you how seeing his accident happen has kind of impacted your view in Formula One. Like I imagine watching it for the first time and that being your real first touch point with Formula One must have been interesting.
So the first time I've seen it, I didn't even know who Grosjean was actually. So the main thing that happened is that I could assign a person to the name on the screen. I was like, okay, yeah, now I know who the drivers are. I'm now able to root for a driver and like watch and understand what's happening on the grid. I mean, even if you just start mid-race, you can look at the top 20, but you don't know how many pit stops happened in between, etc., etc. So kind of gives you the context on how to judge the whole thing you even see and understand all the dynamics. So I think in general, it's the main thing for me to enter. When entering a series, I just have to have kind of a team or a driver that I can watch. So the rest kind of adds to it automatically to understand the context, etc.
Yes. But yeah, talking about other motorsport series, what do you watch? What have you explored, and what do you plan on getting into?
Of course, what got more interesting by the day are the junior series, because you're always interested what rookies could be coming in next. It's a little bit hard. I mean, they're doing kind of a great job, but it's still a little bit hard to keep track of them. I mean, Formula One has an app that's just easy to watch the standings and news, etc. Formula 2 so far, I've only seen the web page.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great as well to keep track of Ollie Behrman, for example, and other drivers. But yeah, I try to keep track of the new names that are popping up in Formula 2, or mainly the ones that have already a driver, like an academy from our academy drivers. Yeah, exactly. And also the female drivers, like Sophia Flörsch, for example. I always try to check how she's doing. And speaking of female drivers, Formula One Academy, I try to watch the highlights from time to time.
But you said you kind of keep up with Ollie Behrman specifically. Did I hear that correctly? Or just...
Yeah, I just found, I can't keep track of Liam Lawson anymore. Not just the ones that are really connected to F1 already, Ollie Behrman being the most recent, and I still find it very funny to compare the both standings, since Ollie Behrman's still in the middle field in Formula One in the standings, and it was kind of a running joke for a while that he actually had a better standing in F1 than he had in F2 at the time. So I always check whether he's finally got better in F2 or if the Prima videos are excellent anyway.
Yeah. Also the glow stick thing that they did recently.
I was actually impressed. That was so well. I was like, whoa.
That is Ollie your pick for Haas next year?
Yes. Currently, now that Nico switched to stake, I am hoping that he will get his seat, because he did amazing.
Yes, definitely,
yeah. And I think it's a little bit of a struggle. I don't think that Formula One has, or the teams have, any obligation to get the Formula 2 drivers a seat. I mean, if it's full, it's full. They don't have the obligation to kind of get the driver a seat just because the fans think he deserves it.
Yeah, because what does it even mean to deserve a seat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on this side, the FIA or the teams might add in Andretti, so we have 2 more seats. That would already help.
solution to a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, so I hope he gets the chance, regardless of how his Formula 2 season goes, because yeah, he has proven himself, and it would be interesting. And I mean, if we listen to all the other names that we heard from Formula 2, like Fittipaldi, Drugovic, etc., they just disappeared now, kind of. You don't hear much from them anymore, like maybe for a test drive, but it's not like, oh yeah, they're the go-to driver to get into Formula One, and they have to look for other career options at some point.
You previously talked about some like technical aspects, and I think you also said that in your application that you're really interested in that. Is there like any favorite area in like technology or engineering that you have, and why is it your favorite?
So I have kind of the two areas that I really like. One being the mechanical engineering part, because I just think it must be amazing to be able to build such machinery and then see it driving around. It's just always the satisfaction that comes with hands-on work. And the other area is the one that I actually currently work in. That would be the data analysis and data engineering side, which would be the more realistic one. Yeah, I currently work as data engineer, and yeah, it's always interesting that how much you can read from a simulator without having driven the car outside. Just yeah, also kind of, you could argue a little bit more sustainable, but for sure such amplifier for development to be able to read so much out of simple data sets. So yeah, it's always interesting.
That's something that you like go out of your way to check the data from like Formula One?
I try to. It's still like I don't understand all of it yet, but I always try to keep up with the technical aspects of Formula One and understand also the development they're heading into. Yeah, I mean, there's also this one account from the previous race engineer of Verstappen. Yeah, he always talks about some data as well. Just like you said, you have the context. Oh, interesting to see how he braked at this and this point, and where the differences are seen. Sometimes also mentioned at in the TV as well. I mean, where they already beautifully display which driver is faster in which corners, etc., and the braking points and so on. I also really enjoy the part where they make the data just accessible, easy to understand. So it's always important. It's nice to have data. I mean, if you don't know what to do with it, or most people don't know what to do with it, it's just, yeah.
So let's go into a little bit of like current news and what's currently happening. So you definitely heard about that Adrian Newey is about to leave Red Bull. What is your opinion about this?
So I think it's super exciting, because finally something major shifts in the sports, especially for Red Bull. I think that's probably going to achieve. Well, maybe someone has to correct me. I don't know how much he was involved in the current development, but I think more than enough. So I think that's one of the biggest shifts in the power balance that you could achieve in such short term. No amount of FIA regulations could change that, probably. So definitely huge potential for any other team to kind of improve, or even for Red Bull to not improve anymore. Who knows? I am, like you mentioned, higher ups might have like this year ban. I don't know if he would be included in something like that.
I read something like, I don't know if this is true or if it's just something that someone made up. Who knows? But I've heard that he definitely has like a contract clause where he can't work for another team at least for a year. But someone said it is because his contract is a 2-year contract, so he would only leave after 2025, which means he could only join a team in 2027. I don't know if that's true, but he definitely has like a 1-year thing where he couldn't join for a year. I think team principal have that as well, and all of the higher ups basically, which makes sense considering like, the data that they have from other teams.
Yeah.
But I'd say around either 2026 or 2027 where he'd be able to join another team.
Yeah, I've heard about talks with Ferrari, visits to Maranello, but I was just thinking, yeah, I was just thinking, wow, Ferrari, well, they have huge pockets, but like to get Hamilton and then Adrian Newey, it's like, wow.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, Fred, you're getting Lewis Hamilton, you're getting Adrian Newey. If you don't get us world championship, I don't know what you're doing. Jesus Christ. But is your bet that he's going to Ferrari, or do you have like other hopes?
I've also seen that, again, social media as a source. I've seen that he mentioned, I haven't read his book, but apparently he had read in his book that he kind of regrets that he never was able to take part in the Ferrari development, and also that he wasn't able to work with drivers like Lewis Hamilton, so that would be 2 in 1 if he went there. Honest, Ferrari always has that appeal. They're just Ferrari. Everyone wants to get there.
Yeah, it is. So we've already briefly mentioned about Nico going to Sauber. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think it makes sense for future Audi to look for a German driver. Kind of expected it.
Very true.
Yeah, and it's also great, like an experienced driver. I'm a little bit delusional that they might also make a plot twist turn, improve that much that he might get his first podium. Who knows?
I would really hope, like, I would be very happy for him.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy that he's still in Formula One. Like,
yeah. I think sometimes when we look at the rookies, like, oh my God, they didn't perform in their first year. They were miserable.
Yeah.
They have to leave straight away.
Yeah.
If you look at Nico Hülkenberg, purely on his statistics, you're like, technically, yeah, he wouldn't be the number 1 driver to keep, but he does a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still going.
He's a great driver to like get the job done.
Yeah,
I think
he really
isn't a driver with the most potential, but he's great at what he's doing. And for a team to do a fresh start in Formula One, it definitely makes sense to have an experienced driver.
That's very true.
What I'm currently just actively ignoring is what that would mean for Bottas and Joe. I'm not going to think about what's happening.
Me too. So yeah, moving on from that, what would be your ideal driver lineup for 2025? And we can go through the teams. Like, for those that aren't confirmed, I am ready to discuss this.
In that perspective, we can leave McLaren as it is. I mean, they're both signed.
Yes.
And I think it's a great lineup.
Ferrari and McLaren are fixed for 2025. Then we have Mercedes.
Yeah. So Russell is set for next year, I think. For me personally, the most exciting would be if Max really goes through with it and would switch to Mercedes. Because on one side, I try to imagine that he is maybe up for a challenge again after just winning so easily the past few years. So he's like, okay, let's try make something work again that's more challenging.
Okay, so Mercedes is Russell and Max for you.
Yeah, Red Bull. So, like I mentioned earlier, since Sainz is leaving from Ferrari, he has to go to another top level team. So I'm placing him at Red Bull probably, with Perez having to Spanish speaking.
I'd love to see that. Oh, yeah. I would root for
I
that.
hope he can. Yeah, it's always hard because they have a little bit of a history, but I think it would be lucrative still.
Same.
Yeah. So what would kind of stay as is as well as Aston Martin, I think. So Alonso signed the deal. Stroll isn't going anywhere, I think. It doesn't really make sense to try force Stroll out of there. It's just how it is. And I mean, he has his great days. He has great races from time to time.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had great days at Williams, etc. So
definitely.
Have Alpine. It's kind of who are you going to place there? I have to say, just because there are 2 French drivers and a French team, I would just leave it as it is currently. Yeah, then we have Haas, like mentioned, Behrman there. That would be exciting. And I think I would just leave K-Mac there as well. I mean, he's a solid driver, and besides a rookie, you really need an experienced driver. I think we've seen that before with Mick
Yes.
and Mazepin, it doesn't really work.
He who must not be named.
Yeah. For Kick, you might not agree, but I would be happy for both of them if they could stay, but I've seen it more realistic that Joe would stay because of the funding,
me too.
probably.
Same. I mean, I obviously don't agree in a sense. I want Bottas to stay, but realistically, yeah, I definitely see that as well. Also, just because he's younger, like that adds into it as well, I feel like. But yeah,
I mean, if you look at Bottas driving around in the whole world, sometimes I feel like he's already half retired. I'm like, you're enjoying life already.
Yeah, he's already living his best. I saw that he accidentally qualified for like a gravel world championship now because he placed it. Like, what?
Off you go.
Yeah.
The last two, Visa, Cash App, RB, or RB, however you want to call it. I just say it as of today, how it's currently going. I would probably let Danny Rick go. It's not getting better. It got a little bit, when he left McLaren, as a McLaren fan, I was also like, oh, come on, did you really have to do that?
Yeah.
But now getting back to AlphaTauri and now RB, he just isn't on the top of his game anymore.
Sadly enough, yeah.
Maybe he had more part in the development, yes, but it's not the way how you stay in Red Bull, in the Red Bull family. Of course, I really like him if it would be personality-wise, of course. But I gotta take a step back and be like, the performance just isn't there at the moment, and probably won't return that quickly. Then, of course, Lawson to give him a shot. Yeah.
Williams is the last one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I just put Albon there since he was committed. I was thinking of moving him in a better team because he really drives fantastically currently. But he seemed committed to Williams, and they managed somehow. Screaming Kimi Antonelli currently, but I wouldn't want them to kind of fast forward him into that seat if he's not ready yet. I mean, if you look at Tsunoda, he also won everything on the way to Formula One, and then the backlogs got to him at some point. So maybe he's that one in a generational talent that gets in the car and is brilliant from moment one. But I think it's just, there's no rush to get there. I think if he's really that great, that how everyone pictures him, he will get there. So just a rookie. There are many that are available currently, but not Sargent probably.
How did you end up finding me? Because that's always really interesting to me, because I can never quite tell how people find my account. So if you remember, and if you don't, it's also fine. But just if you remember.
No, for sure. You popped up. I don't know if it was the first time, but that got me to follow. You popped up on my For You page, reel page, kind of. I think with one of your beginner guides. But it was really interesting. And then I was watching it, and somewhere along the line, I realized, because of your pronunciation, that you were Swiss.
Yay!
And I was like, okay, instant follow. Yeah, so started to explore your page, and you popped up on top of my feed ever since. So great content.
Thank you. So also, why did you decide to join this series?
Mainly decided to just give it a shot. You were very encouraging. So you have, from what I know, you have just a really great connection to your fan base. It's quite close, I would say, compared to other content creators I know. So I thought, I'd actually probably have a chance. It would be an interesting thing, because I really notice how you try to bring us content that we enjoy, always with feedback, etc., responding to, or in general, just interacting a lot with your fans. So I thought it would be great and very interesting to have a chat about F1 with you. So
nice. And then my last question is, I want to give you the opportunity to say anything you want, or anything you want to share with my audience. You can say now.
You have such an inclusive and great account where you can just feel safe, kind of. I would really encourage everyone to ask the questions, maybe leave stupid questions under this episode, I don't know, because I really, for someone who kind of got into Formula One more and more, I just really enjoy if someone has a question and I can answer it. It's just a great feeling.
Truly.
So yeah, to not be afraid to ask stupid questions, because it is a great account to share experiences.
I love that. That makes me emotional. But no, that's really nice, and I love that, and I'm definitely going to include that. Just because it's literally like the base of my account, just what I want people to experience when they come onto my account.